have to have more, you have to have a license, whereas an MSP, all I have is a business card. I forget who said that, but do you see regulatory pressures coming on top of us at some point in time down the future?
Yeah, the one who said that, at least that I've most recently seen, and it was really good and well said, was Chris Roberts. I follow him on LinkedIn. He is somebody I know fairly well. If you don't know Chris, follow him. He's a super awesome guy. And he was talking about that. And I get his point, right? His point is like, look, there's no barrier to entry to get into becoming an MSSP or even an MSP. And that causes some problems, of course, when security issues occur, compounded with the fact that MSPs are under attack like never before, which is why Perch talks about Buffalo jumps being, so important. That's all. It's culminated into what we've seen with our friends at SolarWinds, right? I mean, if not them, someone else, right? It's certainly not picking on them, but just to say, we now know what's happened with all of this. And so I guess here's my thoughts. Here's some ways to think about this. So first of all, let's all recognize that we already are under the crosshairs of regulators, insurance organizations, everybody. We're already under this crosshairs. So just as one example, if you work with banks, you have some amount of consideration by regulators. They are being asked questions in the examination cycles. Banks are, hey, do you work with an MSP? How, have you vetted their controls? What's in place? What are you looking over for them? Give us evidence that you're actually measuring the security program maturity of your MSP. That's already happening today. MSPs that are in this chat are nodding their heads saying, yes, I go through that rigmarole at least once every 12 to 18 month cycles with my banks. It's a chore, but it's worth it in the long run. And let me just read this to you. This comes from FFIEC. So this is like the conglomerate of banking regulators. Listen to this. So they name themselves the FRS, the FDIC, the OCC. Each individually and an agency collectively have statutory authority to supervise third-party services that enter into contractual agreements with their regulated financial institutions, period. So what are the banking regulators saying? They are saying we have authority to regulate you should we so desire. And this does happen. You look at some of the larger MSSPs and MSPs that are out there, they are actually regulated. They have financial regulators in their door. Why? Because they serve banks. They serve other FIs. And so it's just illustrating this to say we're going to see that continue. Now, are we going to see like dedicated focused regulators? Like you're going to see like, I don't know, some organization that's spun up inside the federal government saying we are the ultimate authority in regulating MSPs? Maybe, maybe not. Are we also going to see, insurance organizations finally stand up and say enough is enough, a la PCI? Are we going to see industry standards come across? Probably we're going to see that. And what measured effects will that have? Well, it remains to be seen. We just are still gathering data. There's still a lot we don't know. Cybersecurity changes so quickly. It's such a liquid a threat compared to things like car wrecks or airplane crashes or motorcycle crashes that we just don't have the same finite data on. So yeah, it's coming. We need to be ready for that. We would all be better to be prepared for that and going down that journey, because here's the thing. You look at all modern regulatory frameworks in cybersecurity, guess what they do? They cross map to CIS and CSF. They do. And so if you already go down this journey now, when those regulations come into place and you're starting to have to go through and adhere to those things, you can be like, well, let me just pull out, yep, doing this, makes it much, much easier. So build it now, because it's going to pay off dividends both now and in the future.
So I wanted to pull in Phyllis to kind of cap us off. Phyllis, we're at the top of the hour. Awesome to see you. Any comments and thoughts on Justin's question? We'd love your thoughts on,
So yeah, I would say I agree with Wes. What we've seen in legislation as far as safe harbor laws at the state level for a couple states for small, medium businesses or small, medium enterprises, if you implement, and we follow, of course, controls or CSF, you get safe harbor, right? Because they understand that small, medium enterprises are the backbone of the country. That's how, people are getting compromised via supply chain. Someone mentioned CMMC. I mean, it's coming down the road. What it's going to look like, how it's going to look is another question. And, we at CIS, we have close ties to government, to NIST. We're trying to look at that and say, can we get CIS controls in there, something practical? But I agree. It's coming eventually. It will look like, I don't know, but you see the demand signals out there at the state level, and probably we think it'll probably be coming at the federal level eventually.